Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
She seemed so down to earth and not at all like a gold digger.
You may shudder with indignation.
There's a little card inside.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you later.
Okay, I'll see you.
Okay.
You may defiantly say, I never watched those shows.
Oh my God.
But you also may ever so secretly be watching. Others certainly are, many others.
Good. Filling it? Whoa.
The reality is that reality TV, what some network executives call unscripted programming, is a raging success. This week, Joe Millionaire on Fox attracted 18.6 million viewers. And ABC's The Bachelorette wasn't far behind, burying NBC's popular West Wing by 3.5 million viewers.
And so I expect my husband to make a certain amount of money, yeah.
They're bringing viewers back to the networks. They're also bringing out the critics who are aghast at the perceived voyeurism, lack of intellect, and questionable values.
We've got a 50% divorce rate at least. And you know, so when you present programs like these where the end game is marriage based on marrying this fake millionaire, or a marriage based on picking out of 25 girls the one who, you know, rings your chimes the best, that's a terrible reason to choose a mate.
Trista Wren, who's dating 25 guys on The Bachelorette to find her mate, says don't be so quick to judge.
It's really hard, I think, to meet good people. And I had a whole casting department out there looking for me. ABC was basically playing matchmaker, and these guys are all blood tested and psychologically screened.
But do we need to be psychologically screened? Why is it that we can't wait to watch someone squirm in a tank full of snakes on NBC's Celebrity Fear Factor?
These shows exist for one reason only, and that's to humiliate really good-looking people.
But don't judge this format as just a disrespectful Johnny-come-lately. Reality TV has been around for decades, even before MTV's The Real World, now in its 12th season. And the networks will keep those shows coming. From their standpoint, what's not to like about a popular show that's much cheaper to produce than a sitcom or a drama? And what of those critics?
The negative part of all these shows, is they make us all into peeping Toms. But the point is, compare it to the rest of the stuff on TV.
Wolf Blitzer, CNN, Washington.
Monday night, mayhem in Los Angeles. Outside the Staples Center downtown, hundreds of Laker fans who watched the game on giant screens outdoors celebrated the NBA championship violently. Vandalizing a limousine, torching 2 police cars and a city bus, destroying 2 television satellite trucks, damaging more than 70 cars lined up at auto dealerships, and looting a furniture store and a computer store. The fire department responded to 23 calls. 11 people were arrested. Police used riot gear and rubber bullets against the crowd, which they estimated at 3,000, and which 2 news organizations put at 10,000.
These are not fans. They are losers who only know how to trash our city.
It's a frequent occurrence, fans causing a ruckus at sporting events, casting a shadow on the sports world. In Belgium this week, thousands of riot police are on hand to keep soccer fans at the Euro 2000 tournament in check. Over the weekend, more than 800 English fans were arrested in Brussels and Charleroi for violence. UEFA, European football's controlling body, threatened to expel England from the tournament if its fans caused any more trouble. England's professional soccer league said it would ban for life fans found guilty of hooliganism.
I will certainly deeply regret what has happened, because I think that's important. But now we have to make sure that we're doing everything possible for the future matches.
Britney is just the beginning. Before parents were finished complaining about how their young daughters were copying everything the star wore and ate, marketers decided it was the next big wave. Now the Olsen twins make every young preteen or tween aspire to their coolness, selling clothing and a fragrance line at Walmart. 75% of kids watch what stars on TV wear. Top of the list is Hilary Duff, the star of Lizzie McGuire. Tween boys are into skateboarding and other sports. Tween girls are into sports and clothes.
Let's get dirty.
With plenty of impact from stars like Charlie's Angels and other bubblegum girls.
Cameron Diaz is really pretty. I have a lot of different friends. Some like being dressed up. Like one of my friends, Lauren, she likes being dressed up.
Kid buying power is the obsession of Tim Coffey, head of the Wonder Group, a youth marketing and advertising consultant firm. They point out this market of 20 million preteen customers is barely tapped. Spending power, mostly from allowance, is about $300 a year. But building customers is key. Last year, full-fledged teens spent $170 billion on stuff. Tweens influence other purchases. For example, 65% of tweens help with the grocery shopping.
Introducing Airheads Extremes.
Airheads is an example of the kind of sell that makes a success and goes to the core of the demographic.
Airheads is one of those candies that most adults don't know about, but every kid does. They're uniquely formulated for kids' tastes, and we portray that brand in a way that you know, speaks to their, again, this notion of power and freedom. That you know, eating an Airheads allows you to do things that you might not be able to do all the time.
Some see the messages as manipulative, too subtle for kids to see through, and too powerful to resist.
It's exploiting their vulnerabilities. I mean, and why should we eat because it's cool? You know, we should eat because we're hungry or because it tastes good. But the notion of eating to be cool or to fit in is actually really problematic.
Nonsense, say marketers like Wonder Group. The firm was hired by Chiquita to make bananas cool. They point out healthy products like yogurt and cereal fall into basic food groups. But boring is not necessary. A trip through the grocery aisle finds Incredible Hulk Jell-O, highly animated yogurts, and cereal bars for kids to grab on the way to the carpool instead of skipping breakfast altogether. Marketers say it's a question of getting with the program. Kids do drive purchases. A typical customer in a grocery store or anywhere else is a parent and a child, and the most frequently asked question is, what do you want to eat? The kids decide. Kitty Pilgrim, CNN, New York.
This is no ordinary construction site.
They're not quite sure if it's Halloween or what it is.
It's not the usual music or your typical construction attire.
You're a lot freer. You can move everywhere a lot quicker.
Meet carpenters in kilts.
The heritage that my parents gave me, what my parents taught me, we just took it and turned it into a company. Put into the grid in 4 places.
As a way to honor his late Scottish father. In fact, Marcus Ross says he doesn't even own a single pair of pants.
We've had a lot of real interesting reactions.
They laugh, they snicker, they have their little comments. Nice dress.
There's a lot of double takes.
It's all the way you look at it.
All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What everybody really wants to know, just how authentic are these guys?
Nothing but my boots, darling.
When you climb a ladder up and maybe a little old lady walks out on the deck and she looks up, we can't do that. We get in trouble. So we actually have to have the shorts underneath.
Ross makes their kilts. Thrill or not, nothing with these tartans comes cheap. Average cost, some $600, depending on the season and the material used. Although donning the garb is strictly optional, so far none of them has opted out.
The true story is the young guys like the kilts because the young girls like the young guys in the kilts.
And the carpenters and kilts like it too. In Denver, Kimberly Osias reporting.
I have absolutely no personal life at all. I just work, that's all I do.
I probably work maybe 50 hours a week.
Okay. To a cam stick on.
It can be 40, which is nice, or it can be more like 80.
We have become a workaholic nation. American workers put in the longest hours of any industrialized nation, surpassing the next closest country, Japan, by nearly 2 full work weeks a year. Now a new study finds we're paying a price.
Nearly half of the U.S. workforce, 46%, feel overworked in one way or another. This study is a clarion call for all of us companies and individuals to look at how we're working.
The Families and Work Institute survey of 1,000 U.S. workers found that 28% often felt overworked, 28% felt overwhelmed by how much work they had, and 29% felt they had no time to step back and reflect on their work. Women felt more overworked than men. Baby boomers more than Gen Xers or older workers. Although the survey found that employees on average would like to work about a 35-hour work week, for many, that's a distant fantasy. 24% of American workers work 50 or more hours a week. 22% work 6 to 7 days a week. A quarter don't take the vacation time they're entitled to. But Ellen Dolinsky says it's not just the hours.
When you feel pressured and pushed, when you feel not respected, when you have tension at work, when you feel that the work that you're doing isn't of any real value, that it's low-value work, all of those lead us to feeling more overworked. And sizable proportions of the U.S. workforce are having these feelings.
The survey found those who felt overworked were more likely to neglect themselves, less likely to feel successful in their personal and family relationships.
I feel tired and I feel like I'm juggling 5 or 6 different balls in the air at one time between work and family.
You feel stressed, frazzled, you feel like you're missing out on a lot of your life.
What's more, the survey found overwork can lead to serious on-the-job consequences. Overworked employees are more likely to look for a new job, feel angry at their employers, and make mistakes. 17% of those who feel overworked report often making mistakes on the job, compared to only 1% of those who don't feel overworked. All that means that overwork is costing business, from higher health care costs for stressed employees to training new workers to replace those who get burned out and leave. Survey researchers say it's that impact on the bottom line that will be the wake-up call for American business. Kathy Slobogan, CNN, Washington.
A bit nervous, Faith Sedline waited for her date to show up, a man she'd only met online.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Faith.
Internet dating services are booming. Match.com reports that in the 2 months following the September 11th attacks, membership went up 70%.
Match.com provides the who.
Love experts say that's not surprising in times of uncertainty.
And even if it doesn't happen to you, it reminds you that you don't even want to watch that news without your special someone, on the side of you. So I believe that the services have been used more.
Services that cater to just about every heart's desire. Want someone over 50? There's Senior Friend Finder. How about a church-going friend? For Jewish singles, there's JDate.com. And for the rest, Matchmaker, Match.com, and Kiss.com, and the list goes on.
Is there any equipment that's been damaged?
Doug Wiley began scrolling for the one in September. It was soon obvious to him that more men than women were hitting their keyboards for a date. Nothing like a little competition.
I don't make a lot of money, and I don't have any power, per se. So that makes it very tricky. But it's fun. It's fun to meet new people.
Men still outnumber women because for many women, looking for Mr. Right on the internet is just a little scary. But Sedline says after her experiences, the greatest danger in online dating is getting carpal tunnel syndrome.
You don't know who's going to walk up and you're going, oh, what did I just do? Why am I doing this? But that fades pretty quickly.
And how about the stigma of using the classifieds?
When people hear that I cop up to online dating, they go, their first thought is, oh, you can't get a date. And, I just thought it'd be fun. And you get to meet a lot of people.
When I first got out of college.
So Faith met Matt and had lunch, and well, that was that. But she ended up meeting someone else online. For Doug Wiley, the hunt continues, in hopes that the woman on the screen will match the woman of his dreams. Rusty Dornan, CNN, San Francisco.
You feel your heart race, your blood pressure rise and jaw clench. You're not just getting angry. A new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association says you might also be shortening your life.
Those who had hostility levels above average had a 2.5 high risk of developing coronary artery calcification.
Most alarming to the researchers, this coronary calcification or hardening of the arteries was found in young adults, ages 18 to 30. Excluding other risk factors such as smoking, diet, and exercise, researchers speculate anger or hostility can result in the release of stress hormones which cause blood pressure to rise. The high blood pressure in turn increases the tendency of platelets, the blood cells responsible for clotting, to stick together and begin to clog the artery walls, which eventually collects calcium, even at a young age. Although it's normal to feel bursts of anger, those at highest risk exhibit day-to-day hostile personalities.
Mistrusting other people. The second component is having a cynical view of the world. And the third characteristic is being prone to aggression.
Anger management can help prevent these biological reactions.
And then the very first thing is to stop and do 3 diaphragmatic breaths, because the breathing is going to short-circuit the stress reaction.
Experts also recommend talking about your feelings, but express yourself calmly. Listen to responses from others and negotiate alternative solutions to problems. Another suggestion, keep track of pleasant events in your life and exercise before it's too late. Holly Furfer, CNN, Atlanta.
There's a beautiful smell of flowers around you. I don't know why. Are you around flowers right now?
There's a plant with some flowers.
It's not as if you are actually hearing words. What it is a knowing. It feels as if I go out of myself for a moment and I know something and it comes into me very quickly.
Patricia Masters calls herself a clairaudient psychic. Working over the phone, she claims to harness voices she hears around her.
Oh, very good. Do you know it's a mineral level?
Offering life advice to dozens of callers each week.
They are not coming to find out if they're going to get married next year. They're coming to find out why they haven't gotten married yet. As a psychic, I can look at the pattern and I can say, this is where it is.
Masters is just one of many psychics who claim to utilize the phone to tap into their sixth sense. Remember Miss Cleo and the TV Psychic Friends Network?
You know I'm telling you the truth, don't you?
At one time, it was estimated they were making as much as $100 million a year. That's before they were sued for fraud and declared bankruptcy.
I am who I say I am. I am not a fake and I am not a fraud.
Despite cases like Miss Cleo, the number of Americans who believe in psychics is actually on the rise. According to a recent Gallup poll, 54% of us believe in psychics or spiritual healing. That's up 8% since 1990.
Hey, it's a good opportunity. Go for it.
This comes as no surprise to Patricia Masters, who says that, in particular, after September 11th, many more people are seeking her help, and for different reasons.
Now, the need for it is greater, and people are understanding it. They're not looking for the fortune teller anymore. They're looking for the bigger questions.
Anderson Cooper, CNN, New York.
I'm going to have you hold this up underneath here just for additional lighting.
There are few things that make us quite as self-conscious as visiting a plastic surgeon.
So you're going to narrow the nose and bring it up a little bit? Is that what you're...
I'm going to narrow it and bring in the tip. A little bit of bulbousness on the tip.
See what I mean?
Bulbousness.
A plastic surgeon sometimes does his or her job by cutting things out. Whether it's rhinoplasty to fix a bulbous nose, tucks to remove extra skin, or even lipoplasty to suck out fat.
Guys are realizing they can come in with sort of a fullness in their chest area, fullness in their tummy, and just have liposuction. They'll be off of work for 4 days, maybe 7 days.
Other times, they move stuff around.
You're going to raise one of your brows just slightly.
Or even add new parts, like a chin implant.
And we were going to bring your chin out just a little bit.
Or breast implants, which are regaining public confidence.
They feel like if they want a breast augmentation, they can come and get it. They can get it safely. They can get the result that they expect to get, that their friend got, and they'll be happy.
Although the wallet may not be quite as happy.
Total cost on a brow and a nose and a chin might be $8,000 to $10,000, counting the doctor's fee and also the operating room.
How about something like this gentleman here?
Yeah, liposuction of the chest and of the tummy, that's probably around 6,000.
No operation is completely free of risk, and although it's extremely rare, a few patients have died during plastic surgery. Patients are warned ahead of time of the dangers, and computer simulations that predict the outcome of surgery help patients decide if the reward is worth the risk and the expense.
Now I'm going to print these out for you so you can take a copy home with you.
Show everyone my bulbous nose. Personally, I think I'll choose to keep my nose like it is. I never knew that I had a bulbous nose before I came here today. But I'm okay with that.
Just a little bulbous.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN, Atlanta.
You could say Barry Minko was a pioneer in the business world.
We were the first company really to lie to the auditors, get clean opinions from 3 different auditing firms, to inflate earnings and not disclose all the debt.
At 16, Minko started a carpet cleaning company, and by age 20, he had a $240 million company and was referred to as a whiz kid of Wall Street. And at 23, was sentenced to 25 years in prison for defrauding investors of $26 million.
I was a crook, and you know, although I started it with the best of intentions, the company ran into financial difficulty, and I lied and cheated to keep it running.
What Barry Minko did resembles the recent accusations against many high-profile corporations, lying about what you earn and owe to make more money. According to Minko, right and wrong means something different in the business world.
Right equals forward motion. Wrong is anybody who gets in my way.
That, says author David Callahan, is because the cheating culture sometimes makes it necessary to lie to get ahead.
Lawyers will say, hey, everybody in my firm is overbilling. If I don't also pad my hours, I'm not going to be considered for partner. I'm not going to get a bonus. I'm not going to get ahead in the firm.
In many cases, Callahan says we are cheating and lying more. Tax evasion has more than doubled since 1990 to $250 billion a year. And he says workplace theft totals $600 billion a year.
If you're not cheating, then you're not playing by the real rules. You're playing by an abstract moral code that has no relevance in today's society.
We have to sleep at night, too. We don't want to look at ourselves at parties as big con men. It's a means to an end.
And in the end, Barry Minko paid for his crime. Today, he works to prevent others from getting swindled. His Fraud Discovery Institute has helped law enforcement agencies uncover more than $1 billion worth of fraud.
You'd have to have been there and done that to know what to test for. I think most CEOs are honest, so I'm not on a witch hunt. But every one of them is going to be tempted at one time in their business life.
Heidi Collins, CNN.
Most 14-year-old girls are worried about their social calendar, the latest fashions, and in middle school. Alia Sabur is 14 and working on her doctorate in electrical engineering, more specifically nanophotonics.
Nanophotonics is study and the creation of electronic devices using optics at the nanoscale, or if you prefer, at the atomic scale.
Not that Alia is above living in the meta-atomic scale, it's just that she has a gift.
She is a person that really thinks in concepts. So when she tries to learn a mathematical formula, to her it's not just numbers and formulas, but she visualizes a solution, and that's what makes her unique and special.
Alia puts it another way.
See, this is the thing. I just do everything faster. It's not that I know things or I could just pick up the clarinet and start playing it, but everything happens faster.
She started reading at 8 months, went from 4th grade to college at State University of New York, Stony Brook, and graduated summa cum laude with a degree in applied math. She's a concert-level clarinetist, makes origami, and has a black belt in Taekwondo. But she's not a geek.
I've never been one to study all day, you know? I have a life. I mean, I like having a life, you know? I would not want to spend the entire day doing one thing.
Despite being the youngest female PhD candidate in the country, And looking forward to lecturing undergraduate classes at Drexel University, she's also refreshingly 14.
I don't clean my room, and I don't go to sleep on time, and I'm always listening to music on my headset.
And when it came time to move from her hometown of Northport, Long Island to Philadelphia, her friends surprised her with a party.
It was all my same age friends, all of them, all like 12 of them. They all got together and organized it and had a surprise party for me. I couldn't believe they did that. I have nice friends.
Alia's goal? To be a professor and researcher by day and a professional clarinetist at night. Bill Tucker, CNN, Philadelphia.
Some see it as an unsightly mess, others as a form of rebellious expression, and still others see it as art. No matter how you look at it, graffiti has been given a prime position at an exhibit in northern Italy. The showing attempts to explain the 30-year history of street art, beginning with the act of scrawling personal logos or statements on walls and buildings in New York City in the 1970s. The exhibit tells the history of graffiti in an effort to show its place in the art world.
There are no rules in our art. Our only rule is pure anarchy. Everyone does what one pleases, and no one criticizes.
The exhibit includes works from the big names in the graffiti world, including American Keith Haring, whose work sprang from the American music culture of hip-hop, rap, and breakdance. But most street artists say this exhibit doesn't truly represent them.
Just a few of the artists whose works are here now have done things similar to ours. All the rest is something else. Art galleries, the official art world, should give some recognition to our work.
At least one piece will get recognition on walls and much more around the world. This was created in 1985. It's called Olympic Rings. It will be used by Turin as its Olympic insignia when it hosts the Winter Games in 2006. Denise Dillon, CNN.
Hard labor, but it's the way much of India works. In industrialized countries, turning rocks into gravel is done by machines. But in the developing world, people are cheaper than machines. Cheapest of all are children. In rural India, the earnings are much less, says activist Ravi Chauhan. People work for 30, 40, maybe 20 rupees a day. It's very difficult to feed all the children, so they send them to work. 20 rupees a day is less than 50 cents, and that's for adults. The low wages are part of what make products from the developing world so cheap. Child labor is officially illegal in India, but at least 60 million children, some as young as 6, work for a living. It's an important part of many of the country's traditional export industries, like carpet weaving. Mohan Kumar is 11, but already he's a veteran weaver. His parents sold him for about $5 to a man who said he'd get him a good job. They used to make us work 16, 17 hours a day, he says. When Mohan tried to leave, his employer used the same tool used for weaving carpets to leave these marks on his face. So what's the solution? India says Western pressure won't help end these abuses. Although it's a slow process, it says it's solving the problem on its own by working harder to enforce labor laws and by improving its economy. The government says the only way to end labor abuses is to lift families out of poverty so children won't have to work and employers will have to offer better conditions. Banning child labor hasn't ended the practice. India says it requires a wider approach that will take billions of dollars and years to address.
Most of the problem is really that education is not accessible to people in the rural areas. And therefore, the parents find it cheaper, better, more profitable to send their children to these organized factories.
Child labor is the most visible abuse, but it's not the only one drawing fire in the West. In a country like India, where there's no shortage of cheap labor, Adults often work up to 18 hours a day with no minimum wage and no safety standards. Easy to criticize, India says, but the solution isn't sanctions, it's help in improving its economy. Jana Raff, CNN, New Delhi.
With this ring, I do thee wed. I do thee wed.
It's what we're taught from childhood to believe in, choosing one partner for life. But is monogamy natural? Sure, penguins are known to be monogamous, but most mammals aren't. Of 4,000 known species, the vast majority don't couple up forever. Male gorillas have harems of females, so do baboons. And female chimps, our closest genetic relatives, copulate hundreds of times with different partners for each pregnancy. Some anthropologists believe our human ancestors settled for monogamy about 3.5 million years ago. The reason? Survival through codependence. Females needed the men to hunt and protect while they raised the kids. The men needed someone to raise the children while they hunted. This survival coupling slowly evolved into the exclusive relationship, marriage. Despite estimates that as many as 1 in 5 people will have an affair at least once in their lifetime, most modern couples still say monogamy is something they strive for. For example, a University of Chicago survey found 83% of adults said they only had one partner or none in the past year.
I don't think it's natural. I think it's a choice that we make. I think once you've made the decision to partner with a spouse, then I think it is natural to be with them forever.
It would be natural, despite urges. Then again, you're always going to have urges.
Anderson Cooper, CNN, New York.